All right, I am thrilled to welcome Alma to the Sasaga podcast. So Alma, please tell us who you are and what you do.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I adore you, Helen. Thank you so much for having me here. My name is Alma. I'm originally from Spain, and I'm an intuitive style and empowerment coach. And I help incredible individuals to align their ideal self with their wardrobe in the most fun and magical way we can find.
Wow. Okay. So we will definitely hear more about this, and the part about it being, intuitive and the fun and the magical is really inspiring. So I want to know more about that. So let's start off though with your word of the year.
My word is possibility.
And what made you choose possibility?
So last year, when I was thinking about this year, I was thinking of a word that wouldn't restrict anything that I would set in my mind, no matter what would happen. As we know, like these times are really uncertain, and we can get caught up into what like it's happening outside and what could be possible or what couldn't. So the word possibility was just opening mentally and energetically in so many ways for me. Such an amazing array of options that could happen in my life. And as you know, I just launched my book, and I had all these ideas in my mind. And if I limited myself, then what was the point? Right? If we can think of all the different possibilities, why not think of the best one? So that was always in my mind when I was thinking of this year.
And did you have, as you've gone through this year, were there any particular episodes where having that word of possibility helped you?
Oh. I believe there is a reason why that word came to my head, because I believe I haven't had a harder year than this one. It's been by far, personally, it's been really tough. And having that word was the one thing that helped me understand that this is life. And just because we have our hiccups, it doesn't mean that we can't still make it happen. It's just that it will happen in a different way that we were thinking, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be worse.
Right. Can you give us an example, if you don't mind, of sharing? So you said it's been a year of hardships. Could you give us an example of something that you've overcome?
Yeah, of course. So we were about to launch my book, and I had I was in Australia, and all my family is in Spain, and my parents had a major health issue both at the same time. It was really hard. I didn't it was really severe, and I didn't know what was going to happen. So here I was thinking, yeah, possibility. And here I am trying to work on my book and bring it out to the world and inspire others. And I'm not able to inspire myself. Right. And then I remember thinking of what would my mom say, because at the time I couldn't talk to her. And that word came to me. My mom would have never told me, oh, I just want you to be crying under a blanket and just limit yourself in everything you do. She would never say that. She would always say, go up there and the show must go on. Of course, cry. Of course, let those emotions go. Of course, allow yourself whatever you need. But that doesn't mean that you need to stop, and that word possibility coming to my mind, because this is life. Right? We have grief, which I never ever dealt in my life. And this year I had grief. I have excitement with my book. I had passion. I helped so many people. I felt emotionally in the highest level and also at the lowest. So I realized that this is really the whole meaning of the word possibility, the lows, the highs, the everything. This is what life is about. And now I'm truly grateful that I lived this year, because now I understand the whole spectrum, and how we can actually live this life fully if we live from that perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there's so much possibility, and it's for us to choose, right? As well, this is the thing that that it can be so easy to forget when you're in the middle of that challenging situation, and then it's just that little mind shift of, I can choose the possibility.
Exactly, and I can choose how to live that. And it's so interesting because all these generational patterns pop up, and you remember how your parents lived certain areas in like certain phases in their lives, and you're like, oh, but was I supposed to live that, or do I have a choice? Do I have a choice to live it in this way? And all these lessons were just like every single day I was with a new one, and I was like, oh wow, yeah, exactly, I do have a choice. I do have a choice to show my way of doing this, to show my way of showing up every day, right?
I love that. Yeah. So with the Sasagha success cycle, as you know, we have 4 phases. We have self-care, planning, communication, and productivity. So what's a phase that you would like to talk about, an experience that you've had where you had some challenge and you've overcome it? What would you like to share with us?
Well, self-care, it's a huge one. And I would say first and foremost, I'm so glad that you have that first step in your cycle, because without that one, the rest, they just don't make any sense, right? And this is another thing that I encountered this year, and I had to overcome adrenal fatigue and chronic fatigue, and forgive myself and my body for communicating to myself what I needed, and to surrender and to understand that this is just my body communicating what it needed. Whereas before I was just resenting it and being like, why aren't you at the top of the energy all the time? Now you understand why I got into adrenal fatigue.
So you were basically, you're saying you were kind of maybe angry with your body because it wasn't able to do what it normally did, and then exactly, and just because I wasn't listening to it, I didn't understand that was something that we do. I mean, this is, and I never was specifically diagnosed with adrenal fatigue, but I've gone through multiple burnouts, and this is something I talk about a lot with the women in my community, is that very often, especially when you're doing, there's so many of us who are doers, and you don't realize the long-term impact, because you think I'm fine at the moment, and then suddenly you've got adrenal fatigue, right?
Exactly. And it wasn't like an overnight realization for me. Like I've been years, but I believe since last year, I actually embraced this way of living, of the body goes first, and then everything goes after. But if we don't take care of our relationship with our body and listen to it, then everything falls apart. It just doesn't work. The energy that you put into the way you communicate and into anything, it's just not the same, because it's not yourself. Not taking into account the whole package, which is why for me it was so important to create this book and understand that this lesson was 100% needed for me to understand why I could see how my clients could tap into what their ideal version of themselves it was, and translate it into their body. But I was missing a link, and that was the link, listening to what their body wanted that day. So through my book, I take them through that process to understand that this is also an opportunity to honor our body and to honor who we are, just by choosing clothes that make us happy and show who we truly are.
So on that note, let's so for those watching the video, you can see what the book looks like. You want to hold up your book for us?
Oh yeah.
And then for those who are not seeing the it looks so great. For those not seeing the video version, do you want to tell us the title and tell us about it? And by the way, just for everybody listening, I am just waiting. I am so waiting for my copy. I ordered it in the pre-order, and because Alma has been so popular around the world, there's a delay in the deliveries. And even today, I got a notification saying I was going to get it by today, and then I got another notification saying it's been delayed again. So order your copy early is all I can say. But tell us about the book, because I haven't been able to read it yet. So tell us what's in there. What can we look forward to?
So the book is called Style Power: Unlock the Connection Between Your Soul and Your Wardrobe and Set Yourself Free in Style. And it's specifically about what I was talking about. It's a 3-step process. It's my Style Power formula, and I take the reader from connecting with their true light to understanding a roadmap to that ideal vision of that we build, and then understand what might be standing in the way between them showing up as who they truly want to show up, and to see themselves in the mirror as who they want to see, not just who they think it's appropriate to be seen as, or other people are expecting to be showing up as, or maybe just old patterns and old self-limiting beliefs. Thank you. That might be just silly and might be standing in the way for them to actually create a wardrobe that is a tribute to themselves, and it's a joy, and it's something that lifts them up every single day they stand in front of the wardrobe, and they put on clothes that are nourishing their body and are making them feel confident and ready to make a bigger impact.
So what would be examples of the self-limiting beliefs that you've seen in your clients that are, stopping them initially?
Oh. You're asking me a big one. So this is the thing, we were talking, this is all about perceptions, right? So the reason why people hire me is to be able to mirror them what I see, and what I always see is their ultimate vision of who they are, right? It's always the same, because if they see it inside, it's already within them, but because of what their mother told them. So I had this client, I remember her, she was the most precious soul she was just beautiful, and you can tell that she had a really hard upbringing in terms of being compared to other siblings, and why aren't you like that, and why aren't you like that. So I remember we went to explore, because at the time I used to do personal shopping with them, and she was like, but are you gonna make me wear flowery dresses? It's really funny. And I was like, what do you mean I'm not gonna make you, like, you're gonna choose what you want to wear. I'm just gonna support you. And she was like, oh, because my mom told me that I would never be feminine until I'm able to wear flowery dresses, and I've always hated them so much. And we redefined what femininity was for her, and it was jeans and beautiful t-shirts and things that made her feel herself, and blouses and even wedges, because she was like, can I even wear these? But not the idea of femininity, of what she was told what femininity was when she would grow up. And she was feeling completely out of place just because she didn't feel connected to that, and felt ridiculous. And she did look ridiculous in those dresses because it wasn't her. And I was like, of course she felt like completely out of place. So that's one example that came to my mind.
Yeah, that's a really clear example, and it's, it really brings up that point of, we've been talking about this again quite a lot in the SASA community recently, of the messages that we hear as children, as little girls, about what's feminine and all of the expectations, and they have such a huge impact as we become adults.
Yeah, that stays with you. And for me, even writing this book, I realized like how much I was setting myself free in a way, to saying out loud what I really believed. And when I know that is going to help others to really step into their power and understand that that's everything for them to make a difference. So absolutely. And look, I don't say that with any like hard feelings or anything, because my parents did an amazing job, and I believe they did everything they could at their highest level of learning. It's just a matter of understanding that thanks to that, I've learned the lessons, and now I'm able to show up at a different level. So.
And to really support your clients. So I'm curious, because hearing these stories about your clients is so inspiring. Do you have another one that really sticks in your mind of something that was like a big transformation?
So I've got so many. So I had this client. Okay. This one wasn't a long time ago. So she was in an industry where wearing long hair was really important. Okay. So she had been dyeing her hair for so long, and her whole life was about being natural, being in connection with nature. Her style was very natural. Her, like the fabrics we were wearing were as natural as it gets, because that was her personality style. And felt constricted by the fact that she was wearing this long hair, this dyed long hair. So she was really worried about what people would think if she would just leave her hair natural, and the fact that she needed to cut it really short for her to grow it gray, and really align with her personality.
All right. So you're saying she'd gone gray, and she'd been dyeing it and wearing it long because that was the expectation?
Yep, exactly.
Wow.
So again, like, and I don't know why this example comes to my mind, but I was like, what makes you think that having a short hair and gray hair is not going to make you feminine, right? So she was like, whoa. So she cut her hair, and she looked amazing. Like, we're talking about stunning woman that was just playing it smaller just because she was expected to wear this hair that wasn't part of herself. Keep in mind, our hair, it's right next to our face. I mean, it's such a big part for everybody, but especially for us women, right? Yeah. So yeah, and I mean, so many examples of the reality versus what we see or what we perceive, or the stories that we create of what people are going to perceive because we do something. It's not even funny.
Yeah, and that all becomes the limitation, and it's so great that your word is possibility. It all comes together so wonderfully. So what I also just wanted to talk about was the language aspect, because I'm sure this is fascinating for many of our listeners. Many of our listeners are Japanese, and many of them have concerns about their level of English. And it's interesting because that's, again, it's their perception, because often they'll say to me, oh, my English is not very good. And I'm listening, I'm thinking, it sounds pretty good to me. And I've heard a lot, I've been in Japan for 30 years now. So from your experience, what are some of the struggles that you've had, or any kind of, have you had any kind of similar concerns, and how have you overcome them?
Oh my God. I'm so glad that you're bringing this up, because this was my next point on your cycle, but I was like, I need to choose one. So I'll choose self-care.
Well, let's have two. Let's have possibility of more.
I was in Spain. I used to be a financial auditor. I used to work in Spanish, and English was just the second language that you wouldn't even speak much. Like you wouldn't even use much in Spain. It was just a secondary subject in oh, my kids are screaming, so I apologize if you can hear that.
We're keeping it real.
That secondary subject in school. So anyway, I always felt attracted to the language, but it was when we moved to Canada 11 years ago, and I arrived there, and I thought my English was really good. And then I started listening to people, and I was like, oh my God, like this is next level. So obviously you get there and they start talking to you, and you're like, what did they just say? Like, how you doing? What? Like the speaking was so fast. So I still remember like it was today, how that, like how the whole reality shifted in terms of what my expectations were, and where I arrived there, and I was like, okay, I really need to level up my game. So not long after that, I was studying in university, and I was doing English. And then a year after that, I started taking clients in English. So I had this big self-conscious belief that my English wasn't good enough, because you do find a lot of people that are like, excuse me, sorry, I didn't get that. And when they ask you that, you feel like, oh my God, that's it. Like, I can't speak English. So it was a few years ago when I started vocalizing. I was like, oh, my English is not very good. And I remember this style mentor that she was like, stop saying that. Mm-hmm. I am communicating with you in mm-hmm. another language. Mm-hmm. Do you realize what you're doing? Mm-hmm. And I was like, my perspective started changing then, because I was like, wait a minute, that is true. This is actually really cool. You're talking on your mother tongue. You don't speak any other language. And here I am working, communicating with other people, helping other people mm-hmm. in my second language. And then it all really transpired when I started understanding that people actually found it cool that I had my Spanish accent, and my confidence speaking English started thriving from that, because I realized that it was all about the story that I would make up, and that accents are never a limit if we believe it. Of course, there'll be people that will notice the accent, but so what? Like, I notice all the characteristics from everybody else, right? But it is part of who I am. It's part of my essence. And I now proudly pronounce I'm Spanish. And before I was like, oh my God, they're gonna notice I'm not English speaker. Now it's part of who I am. And I think it's really cool. And the fact that we brought up a book in English and it became bestseller. I mean, seriously, if I am not an example of what you can achieve when you let those stories go, like, who is,
Possibility. Yeah. I love it so much. Brilliant. All right, so let's go into spontaneous questions. We're going to 3 spontaneous questions. I don't even know yet what they're going to be. Let's see. First one. When you think of Japan, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Oh my God, the food.
In particular, any kind?
In my Canadian years, I had a lot of Japanese friends, and I enjoyed everything from ramen. We love going to oh my God. So there was this restaurant in Toronto called it's Izakaya. Okay. Izakaya and that restaurant, like that's where I discovered gindara and all these different Japanese dishes that I loved so much. You know, it's not just about the sushi. So now I've become this like next level connoisseur. I love international food, but Japanese food, it's up like with Korean, they are both like quite top. So yeah, food. Sorry, but that's what I can think of.
There's no need to apologize about that. What do you like to do for fun?
Dancing. I love dancing.
Yes, I remember you mentioned that.
That's my instantaneous mood shift, and that is dancing. But we actually do it in the house. It even says it in the back cover of my book that's one of the things that we do in our family. Like we organize kitchen dances. It shifts the mood of everybody. So for me, that's like, yeah, it's something that I cannot miss in my day. And if one day I don't do it, then maybe the second one, but it's really important. So I love dancing. I love going out with friends, and I love playing with my kids and my husband. It's just like that is fun, but I just need the energy.
I love that so much. I feel like, so I could hear my husband in the kitchen a moment ago. So maybe after this, I'm going to go and say, let's do a kitchen dance.
I'm cooking. I'm literally cooking and dancing, and my husband is like, yeah, that's her.
All right. So last one of the spontaneous questions. And actually I asked this. So I have a free Facebook group for women. It's the Hataraku Josei Shiawase na Seiko, uplifting women in business. And we have emails that go out, regular emails with that group. Today's email asked this question. So I'm going to ask it to you as well. What would the Alma we're basically, for people listening to this in the future, we're recording in October 2021. So what would Alma of October 2022 say to Alma of October 2021?
Stop overthinking.
Yeah.
It's all taken care of. I can tell it's all taken care of. Stop overthinking. Keep moving forward. It's the most important. I can already tell.
So powerful. Thank you so much for that. All right, so as we bring this episode to a close, it's been such a fun episode, so much fun. As we bring this to a close, what else would you like to share with our listeners and viewers today?
I would love to share that I believe this book is the bomb. No, show us again. You asked me to talk about the book, and if there is one thing that I can bring about, it's the fact that this is not a style book. It doesn't even have the typical style book that you would find. You don't even find pictures inside. It's all about connecting with that true essence that you are, and understanding that once you are able to operate from that space, then anything is possible, and even creating a wardrobe that makes you feel amazing is included with that. So if that means really like, if that means like buying a couple of pieces that make you feel seen, then that is like, you have your own version of what that means. And this is what this book allows you to connect with that light of yours and bring it out to the world. So I was so happy to be here and talk about your beautiful audience. experience and how they are going to be changing the world in their own way.
Oh, love it so much. And I know for those of you in Japan, I know that you can order through Amazon Japan. And we will be putting links in the show notes so that you can, what's the best place for people to contact you, Alma?
So you have the page of the book. It's stylepowerbook.com. And I did want to mention that once you purchase the book, you can also access the book resources. And there are so many gifts and fun stuff to play with color and to create systems in your wardrobe and a playlist.
To dance in the kitchen.
So there are some goodies in there. And then my website, my regular website is almabarrero.com, and they can contact me there or on Instagram because I'm always there. And it's Alma Barrero.
Excellent. We will be linking to all of that wonderfulness in the show notes. Alma, thank you so much. Oh my goodness. I really want to kind of reach through the screen and give you a hug. One day we will find ourselves in the same place so that we can actually do that.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been wonderful. So much possibility. Thank you.